Welcome to the Patreon NHL Ice Guys. This is Ian Cameron on Tuesday, November 19th, as we are ready to break down the Tuesday NHL card. And it might be a solo mission today for yours truly on the show. Andrew's got coaching commitments today. It's a volleyball tournament of some kind. He's coaching them, and it starts right around this time. There's nothing he can do to avoid it. Alex is feeling a little under the weather. He'll be back tomorrow. And Jimmy with his daughter today, spending time with her. I think Jimmy said he might be able to pop on for a few minutes. The good news is, even if it's only me, and it's looking like that could be the case today, we do have plays from everybody. Jimmy sent me his bets. Alex sent me his bets, and they've got a lot of them on this big Tuesday card. And who else? And Andrew's got a couple as well. So they sent me plays, so we're all good to go. Speaking of the devil, I see Jimmy coming on right now. He'll be joining us for a little bit on this show. Thanks to everyone in the chat for your patience as well. I know we try to get this show started as close to 3 p.m. Eastern time as we possibly can. Sometimes that's not always possible, but we appreciate you waiting. We're ready to get this show going, and we're going to go rapid fire, guys. I mean, there's 13 games on the slate. If we don't want to be breaking down each game, spending 10 minutes even breaking down each game. So we're going to go with a pretty quick pace, brisk pace here through this card. We'll start with the Minnesota Wild taking on the Buffalo Sabres. We've got the Buffalo Sabres about minus 110 to minus 115 home favorite. Although actually now it's Minnesota that's actually taken the money to the point now where Minnesota is a slight road favorite in this game, about minus 115 to minus 120. The total 5.5 shaded to the over in this game. So this is a big move. We're looking right now at about a 60, maybe even 70-cent move from Buffalo minus 145 all the way to Minnesota right now, minus 115 in this game. So there's been a big price move when you look at this matchup between the Wild and Sabres, and I'm not really all that sure it's warranted. I know Buffalo's banged up a little bit with their forward group coming into this game, but you're talking about a Minnesota team that, A, is not a team I trust. I don't think they're a team that has played any sort of consistent hockey this year. I know the Sabres are dealing with a couple of injuries. Tage Thompson, Kyle Okposo, just can't catch a break, that guy. I think he's had a concussion now every year he's been in the NHL. It's a sad thing to see. He's going to have to start worrying about his physical long-term well-being and his health at this point in time. You just can't keep taking head injuries and keep thinking that it's going to be good for you long-term, maybe playing a sport when you're getting one head injury and concussion after another. But, I know they're banged up a little bit at the forward group, but you're going to ask a Minnesota team to lay a price on the road when they're 3-10. On the road this season. I'm certainly not looking to do that. Buffalo's coming off a loss to Chicago. Didn't really play all that well, but credit the Blackhawks for playing a good game. And really, it's a Chicago team that's playing some really good hockey. Chicago's actually playing their best hockey of the season right now. So you can't discredit Buffalo too much for losing that game. I still look at this back home. It's a bounce-back spot for the Sabres, a team they can beat. And I think they're going to fill the back of the net because our old friend, Alex Stalock, who I certainly don't trust one iota, is in net for this game for the Minnesota Wild. So I'm on two plays here. With this move, I was not involved at the opener. I didn't want to lay minus 145 with Buffalo, not even close. But now you're going to get me minus 105, even some plus hundreds showing up with Buffalo now. Yeah, I'm in at that price, and I'm also liking the over. 5.5 here in this game, minus 115. Buffalo scored goals aplenty at home. They're averaging almost 4 goals per game on home ice this year. Stalock and net, perfect recipe, I think, for this offense to come alive. Let's not forget that Eichel, Reinhart, Olofsson top line still doing well. I know they're going to have to rely on those guys more with some injuries up front, but they're capable of carrying the load offensively. I think Minnesota can find the back of the net. The Wild have been scoring goals a little bit more, at least, of late. They got in a 4-3 game that went over the total over the weekend against Carolina. So I like Buffalo here, minus 105, and over 5.5, minus 115 in this game between the Wild and the Sabres. We got my boy Jimmy Murphy joining us on location. Jimmy, how are you?
What's up,
what do you
guys?
take here on Minnesota Buffalo?
I apologize for no visibility, but it's probably better for our subscribers there. They don't have to look at my mug. I'm with you. I don't know how the hell that changes so much. That's quite the jump there. And with you, I'm going to get right on that too and take Buffalo. I think it's a great bounce back chance for them. And I don't trust Minnesota one bit at all. And Stalock and net, I mean, no, something's looking good there for Buffalo. I'll take it.
Yeah, Buffalo minus 105, and I understand the reasons for taking Minnesota. They have played a little better lately. They're off a loss. They're starting a road trip. All that's great, but talking about 60 cents move here, which to me there's not enough factors, especially now that we know Dubnik's being rested. to warrant, I think, this price. So Jimmy's also looking Buffalo here at this near even money price. Next game, we've got Philadelphia, Florida. I'm going to recap what Alex, Andrew have at the end of the show. I'm not going to go game by game through what they've got, but I promise I will recite their card for today, definitely when we recap everybody's plays at the end of the show. Philadelphia, Florida, we've got Florida minus 140 to minus 145 home favorites, total 6.5, shaded to the over in this one. Something's got to give. Florida can't play an under right now. Philadelphia is not playing many overs right now. So something's got to give in this game from a totals perspective right now. Florida involved in a wild, high-scoring affair. That game was over the total, I think, before the halfway mark on Saturday night, that Rangers-Panthers game. That's now 10 straight overs. Keep that in mind. 10 straight overs head-to-head between the Rangers and Panthers, and another one on Saturday night. It's like DJ Khaled, and another one, another over. Another over for Rangers and Panthers on Saturday night. Florida, I can't bet under, but Flyers are playing some damn good defense lately, and Carter Hart's played a lot better in net. Bobrovsky had a great third period to get that win in the bank for the Florida Panthers, even though that game started out as a shootout back and forth. Died down a little bit as the game went on. Florida pulled out the win. Florida is playing better hockey. You got to like the run they've put together. Other than the loss where they were flat against Winnipeg off the big comeback against Boston, that's really the only loss Florida's had recently. But at the same time, Flyers, there's nothing really to complain about with them. They play better in their own zone. They're getting some saves now, timely scoring. So it's a tough game to call for me from a side perspective and from a total perspective. So I'm passing on this one. Jimmy, have you got something with Philly and Florida here?
Yeah, I can't remember what I wrote you earlier today, but I do remember that I like the first period over in this game. So I'm gonna give you that right now. First period over. This is going to be an interesting game. I think we're in for a good one with these two teams. Florida is just such Jekyll and Hyde, but when they're good, they're good. And Philly's playing some good hockey, as you mentioned there too. So I'm expecting a little battle there down in Sunrise tonight.
Yeah, a really good game and an important game. Two teams that are really playing some pretty solid hockey. They've been competitive. They've been in every single game recently. You got to like the form that they're both in. Jimmy, on the first period over here, 1.5 minus 160. First period over in that game. Next up, we got Montreal and Columbus. We got Montreal minus 120, road favorites, total 6, shaded to the under in this game. Columbus is all of a sudden a team that's, perked up at least somewhat in recent games. In fact, this is a little bit of a mini revenge spot for Columbus, who played, I think, a game good enough to win in Montreal recently.
Yes,
went toe-to-toe. Remember, they were going to win that game, and the Habs tied it with the extra attacker in the final minute, and they ended up pulling out that game in a shootout 3-2. But Columbus bounced back after that with a nice win against St. Louis, and they deserved that win. I was on St. Louis. I have no beef at all losing that bet with St. Louis on Friday night. Columbus was better team, the better side from start to finish. They outshot St. Louis 39-27 with that 3-2 overtime win. So, Columbus definitely, let's give them credit. They've been competitive. Montreal playing great hockey as well. They finally got a loss on their ledger, 4-3 overtime loss to New Jersey at home, which was kind of surprising. But, when you're coming off beating Washington on the road 5-2, the Red Hot Capitals the night before, maybe a little letdown factor played into the mix there for Montreal with that loss Saturday night against New Jersey. So this is a game, again, tough from a side perspective. I am absolutely awful with unders, but this is one game where the under does make some sense to me. When you look at these two teams, certainly Montreal trying to trend a little bit more under. They've gone under the total for their last 5 games. You look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. Tortorella sort of a while back said we need to shore up things defensively, and the recent results have been 5-1 to the under for Columbus in their last 6 games. So my lean here would be under the total, but not a game I have an official play on overall. How about you, Jimmy, with this one, Habs and the Blue Jackets?
Well, like I said, you referenced that game in Montreal there, and I believe I took Columbus that next night, and they won when they beat St. Louis, because just for the reasons you said there, they played some really good hockey. They were trending up, and they continue to do so. And now they're welcoming in a Habs team that, let's not forget, Ian, just found out that they're going to be without Paul Byron and Jonathan Drouin, who is finally coming to his potential. He's finally realizing his potential there in Montreal, and really was having himself a hell of a season. So it's tough to see him go down, but those guys are going to be out for months now, maybe, they're saying. So I think that's a huge loss, especially Drouin. That's a big, big loss for the Montreal Canadiens up front. And on that note, I like it there with the under. I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take Columbus as an underdog in this game, a home dog against the Canadiens.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Of course, Byron and Drouin definitely big time in. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm enough talking about it. Time for action.
Yeah.
Speaks louder than words. I'm betting the under in this game. I like it. Under 6 minus 115, which means it's flying over the total. It's going to be 6-5. You can write that down right now. Now that I'm getting involved in it, it's going to be 6-5. You can.
No, but you know what? With that offense is going to hurt now without those guys. So I don't see Montreal scoring much, and Columbus can't. So I think that's a solid bet.
All right, under 6 minus 115. I am going official with that for the first time in since I think the first week or two of the season. Official with an under. Montreal Columbus under 6 minus 115 for me. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Come on, no hex, no jinx. Let's go. Let's get this done. New York Islanders, Pittsburgh. We've got Pittsburgh minus 130, home favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the under in this game. Look, Pittsburgh's coming off a tremendous performance, but I don't give anybody as much credit for beating up the lowly floundering Leafs right now. The way Pittsburgh did the other night. You don't get a big power rating boost in my NHL power ratings because you beat Toronto, who can't get out of their own way right now, who some Pee-wee Bantam hockey teams can play a little bit better defensive structure right now than the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Pittsburgh took care of business. Okay, I understand that, but you're going to be facing a much better team right now, especially when you talk about defensive structure. You go from the Leafs to the Islanders, it's like night and day in terms of how these two teams are in terms of their aptitude at the defensive end of the ice. So, and they're still a banged-up team. I give them credit. They beat Toronto, but they're still without Crosby, Letang, and Hornquist. It might be without Nick Bukestad as well. And they just got him back recently. So this is a short-handed group. And the New York Islanders, what can you say? 13-0-1 in their last 14 games. They have been rolling. 14-game point streak. In fact, if they win tonight, that can tie a franchise record consecutive point streak for the New York Islanders. That's at stake tonight. And the only loss in those 14 games were to these Pittsburgh Penguins last week. So it's a revenge spot for the Islanders. And I don't usually factor that in too much, but it's not just that was the one loss. It's the way they lost that game. You'll remember the Islanders led 3-0 going into the third period of that game against Pittsburgh. And the Penguins came back, 4 unanswered goals, won 4-3 in overtime. It's one of the few times in the last 2 seasons since Barry Trotz has taken over as head coach where the Islanders have coughed up a third period lead. They're usually as sturdy and reliable as can be, old reliable when it comes to protecting a lead in the third period. That wasn't the case that last meeting against Pittsburgh. I think there's an extra chip on the shoulder of this Islanders team. And like I say, I think this is to me a little bit out of whack, this line. Pittsburgh's laying minus 130 here to the Islanders at home. They were laying that same price to a banged-up, struggling Toronto team at home on Saturday night. You can't tell me that the Toronto Maple Leafs and the New York Islanders are on the same plateau right now. That's just not the case. So great value to me, great spot, New York Islanders, plus 110 for me in this one. Jimmy, what's your thoughts, Penguins and Islanders?
Sign me up as well for all those reasons you stated there. And yeah, I mean, this Islanders team, I don't know. They like the Rodney Dangerfields. They're not getting the respect they deserve, but they don't care. They just keep winning, and I think that's what they're going to do in Pittsburgh tonight. Like you said, the Toronto team, big deal. You beat Toronto 6-1. I mean, yeah, you did it without all the guys you have out of your lineup right now, but I mean, Toronto's a joke right now. Anyway, it's just I wouldn't bet Toronto going forward until they string together at least 3 wins in a row. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So give me the Islanders. I'm with you, the Islanders money line.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of Toronto. I mean, I wouldn't bet my mortal enemies money on them right now. Well, maybe I would, but
yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely hideous the way things are going. And I think the New York Islanders, you're right, plus 110. I think you can get this team at an underdog price. They're 13-0-1, and I think they come into this game knowing that Pittsburgh's the last team that beat them. Nobody's beaten them in the last 3 weeks. And Pittsburgh's that one team.
Yeah.
They'll remember that, and I think you'll get a good effort tonight from this Islanders team against what's still a little bit of a depleted Pittsburgh Penguins squad. We got Boston, New Jersey next up here. Boston minus 140, total 5.5, 6, pretty much across the board. You talk about depleted squads. Boston. They've had to play through a ton of injuries as of late. It's been one after another. Bergeron day to day, hoping to have him back tonight. We'll see. DeBrusk IR Backus IR, Kuhlman IR, Krug IR. Forget Kevin Miller and John Moore. They've been out forever. But I'm talking about just the guys recently that have landed on the injury list for this Boston team. And yet somehow, here's this Bruins team fighting the good fight every night. They beat Toronto. They've lost to Washington, but it was a tough, hard-fought game in that one. It's been a game effort from this Bruins team. And I thought even in the Washington game, I know that Washington was taking the play to them, but they hung in there. Halak gave them a chance. Nothing to be ashamed about with a depleted team going up against that Washington team and only losing in a shootout to them on Saturday night. So the Bruins are still fighting, but boy, they're gutted. They're depleted. They're just trying to survive right now. And get through these games until they get some of this artillery back. The bigger question is, can New Jersey beat Boston and any good team, even though Boston's got those injuries? Well, they did come back to beat Montreal. Positive sign for the Devils, 4-3. But I've seen this dog and pony show before with New Jersey. They get a couple of wins, and I know they beat Pittsburgh Friday. They beat Montreal back-to-back, tough spot. Here we go. We're starting to think maybe New Jersey can get things rolling, but usually this is around the time where New Jersey falls flat again. So, again, I don't fully trust the Devils just yet. I know they've won 2 in a row, and Boston's a little vulnerable right now, but I don't know if I'm willing to trust New Jersey just yet until I see them step up at home here and get the job done against this Bruins team. So this is a game I'm not involved in, side or total in this one. Jimmy, how about the Bruins tonight as they head to Jersey?
Well, I'll let you know, Jake DeBrusk is back in for the Bruins. He'll be back in as well as Brett Ritchie. They'll surround David Krejci on the second line there. Bergeron's a game-time decision. And for that note, I'm staying away from this game as well. I don't like to go near any game with the New Jersey Devils right now. But then you have a Bruins team who's up in the air as to whether Bergeron's going to play. So I'm going to stay away from this one. I have a feeling, though, I don't know. If I was going to do something, I would lean actually towards the Devils in this one, especially if Bergeron's not in. Just seems like a good spot right now. The Bruins got a string of games coming up. And I don't know, their mind was a little off. I think they're a little tired right now these days. As you said, they've been battling all these injuries, hanging in. I see them hitting a bit of a lull right now. And so I'd stay away from this game.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of with you there in terms of the price. At the current price in this game, I'd probably lean a little New Jersey, but man, I've just got to. This is one of the better teams they've played all year, even though they're banged up. So let's see if they can get it in here. Ottawa, Detroit. We've got Detroit minus 120. Home favorites total 6.5 here across the board. I think this is kind of a cheap price on Detroit. I mean, I like the effort we've seen from this Red Wings team. I know they let it slip against San Jose, but they went toe to toe with the red hot Sharks team. At the end of that road trip, let's not forget they had LA dead to rights, and that still bothers me, that game, even a week later. And then they ended up losing in overtime. And of course, they beat Anaheim, and they had won 3 in a row against Anaheim, Boston, and Vegas before that. So it's been a competitive team. They've been in every single game. They've had a chance to win every single game ever since they got Robbie Fabry. We've talked ad nauseum about how that trade sort of perked this team up just a little bit. You're going to offer me just minus 120 at home against Detroit. Now, I know they're offering a road trip, but I think they're a little bit better than Ottawa. I think it's a cheap enough price to get involved here with this Red Wings side. So I'm going to get in here with Detroit at minus 120 in this game. Jimmy, what's your thoughts on the Red Wings and Sens tonight?
You know, this is a tough one for me, and I'm with you. I mean, it's interesting. Detroit's another team that I think deserves a little more respect given the way they've been playing lately. And San Jose, credit to them for turning things around. I mean, I remember seeing them here in Boston a few weeks ago, and they looked like they were ready to start competing for ping pong balls in the lottery. And that still could happen, but a credit to them digging down deep and stringing some wins together. It's a tough one. I'm going to stay away from who wins this game right now, but I like the over in this game. So give me the over. I believe, is it 6 or 6.5? I
think it's gone down to 6 in a lot of spots, so we can find a 6 here for you, no problem.
Yeah, if you can get a 6, give me the over on a 6 there.
Yeah, there's 6 minus 115 at Bookmaker, Chris, and a bunch of other spots. So yeah, you can get a 6 if you like it over, because it did open 6.5, but it has gone down a half goal in most spots. Next up, interesting one here: Winnipeg, Nashville. We've got Nashville minus 185, home favorites, total 6.5, shaded to the under in this game. The Nashville Predators, they're talking the talk that this is a show up and show what you're truly made of game for the Nashville Predators. And that is a situation where, to me, as much as Winnipeg's been pretty good on this road trip so far. Think about, they beat Florida, beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay was playing really good hockey. Winnipeg goes into Tampa on Saturday afternoon and beats the Lightning in impressive fashion. They got good goaltending from Hellebuck, opportunistic offensively. Their power play starting to work and click a little bit for this Winnipeg Jets team. So it's been a nice start to this road trip. And I got to give Paul Maurice all the credit in the world for what he's been able to do with this depleted defense that we've talked about all season, how young the Jets are on the blue line. The fact that right now they're carrying a group with Josh Morrissey, Tucker Poolman, Lucas Biza, Carl Dahlstrom, Potato, Pionk on their blue line, youngsters after just being gutted on the defense with Trouba gone, with Bufflin gone, with Myers gone to various other teams. And, of course, in the case of Bufflin, waiting to see if he's going to retire from the sport or not. And yet Paul Maurice has gotten this defense to be better. Their penalty killing has really improved in the last several games. I mean, that's been the biggest difference with the Jets lately. They've finally gotten some penalty killing. Defense has played better. And obviously they've gotten a save or two along the way from Connor Hellebuck, especially in that Tampa game. But the thing that worries me, even though this price is tantalizing on Winnipeg, it is, the way they've played in the first 2 games of this trip, is that Nashville got absolutely steamrolled by Chicago on Saturday night. Roman Josi sort of talked to the team saying it's time to start showing up on the defensive end. They've lost 4 in a row. It's a circle the wagon spot for Nashville. They still remember getting knocked out in the playoffs a couple years ago by this Winnipeg team. So I think it's one of those circle spots. It's one of those, if Nashville's going to bring their A-game spots, you would think it's going to be tonight. But, you know, so that's why I'm going to stay off Winnipeg. But I'll tell you right now, at the price, it's Winnipeg or nothing. I just worry this is one of those time to put your foot on the gas pedal and show up games after really an embarrassment for the Predators Saturday night against Chicago. Their current form, not all that great, but you think if they're going to bust out of it, possibly tonight here against Winnipeg. I kind of lean to the over in this game just because of the fact this could be an explosion waiting to happen for Nashville offensively. Each of the last 2 meetings between these teams in Nashville's gotten to at least 6 goals. You need 7, obviously, to catch the over. That's the one hesitancy that I've got, but I would lean over, passing on the side overall. Jimmy, what's your thoughts on the Jets and Predators?
Well, I think you make some great points there about Nashville, kind of looking at this as a gut check game, and you know they definitely need to show up here. But I like the way the Jets are playing right now, and they've been kind of quiet about it. Not a lot of people talking about it, and they're just quietly getting the job done. They're a good point by you. Their penalty kill has improved, but they're playing that team-wide defense right now, and people love goals, people love highlight reels stuff, but when it comes down to it in this league, what wins is defense, and that's what the Winnipeg Jets have been doing a better job of, and that's why they're winning. So I like the Jets in this game, and I also like the over. So give me 2 plays: the Jets and the over.
All right, Jets and the over here at over 6.5 minus 105 is the price with that. Tampa Bay, St. Louis, very fascinating game here. East versus West matchup. The Lightning, slight road favorites, minus 115, minus 120. The total 6 shaded to the over in this one. Of course, they are the big news too. Well, not the big news, but obviously former member of the St. Louis Blues, of the Cup-winning Blues, Pat Maroon, returns to face his old team. He'll get his Stanley Cup ring tonight in this game against the Blues, facing his old team. Tampa Bay was really playing great hockey. They got a little speed bump the other day against Winnipeg. The Jets, as a big underdog too, winning in Tampa Bay against the Lightning. The Lightning are still giving up a lot in the defensive end. I mean, they're giving up high danger chances. In fact, I think they're one of the worst in the NHL in terms of the most high danger scoring chances that they're allowing on a game in and game out basis. And as a result, and it's impacted Vasilevsky too, who hasn't played as well. But I think a product of that is that they're just giving up too much quality in terms of the scoring chances that they're allowing. So that's something that's definitely a concern here. St. Louis is not playing great hockey at the moment. They've lost 3 games in a row. Just like with Nashville, we talked about how Nashville struggling, but this feels like a spot at home where this is supposed to be a wake up and play better spot for Nashville. This is supposed to be a wake up and play better spot for St. Louis as well, after losing 3 straight games, including a really shoddy performance the other night against Anaheim, losing 4-1 at home to the Ducks. And let's not forget the Ducks were limping into St. Louis prior to that game, not playing good hockey, and they still went on the road and beat this St. Louis team. And the injuries to Tarasenko, is starting finally to catch up to them. And Alex Steen's a big loss too, more so defensively. One of the better two-way forwards in the NHL. He's been for many, many years. He's not going to give you a whole lot offensively compared to what he once was able to. But boy, in terms of a defensive presence at the forward position, Alex Steen is still tremendous in that regard, and he will be missed now that he's going to be out for a period of time for St. Louis. So you got Tampa off a loss, starting a road trip. It's a bet on spot to me for Tampa, but it's also a bet on spot to me for St. Louis, I think, as they try to stop the bleeding at home off a poor performance at home against Anaheim, looking to avoid 4 losses in a row, and I'm not sure St. Louis has even lost 4 in a row at any point this season. So I think there's good cases to be made for both of these teams. Not a game I got involved with, I should say, side or total, but definitely an interesting one to watch here between the Lightning and Blues. How about you, Jimmy, and St. Louis with this game, Tampa-St. Louis?
You know what? I'm going to take Tampa in this. I agree with you. They got to shore it up in the defensive end a bit, but I like their chance right now going in there right now to St. Louis. Overall, they're playing better hockey since they returned home from Sweden. So give me the Lightning money line here. And Ian, I'm going to have to let you go because I am reaching my destination here and will be unable to continue.
All right, no problem. We'll recap the rest of your card right now before we let you roll. You're on over first period, Chicago, Carolina. That's the next game we talk about. Vancouver money line as an underdog against Dallas, looking to cool off those red-hot Stars. Colorado as an underdog against Calgary, and the under in that game. I can't fault any fate of Calgary as a favorite right now, the way they're going. Over first period, Toronto, Vegas, and Edmonton. I agree with that one, too. Edmonton is an underdog against red-hot San Jose, but San Jose's, I think, due for a loss as far as I'm concerned, and I like the way Edmonton's going, so I like that one. All right, Jimmy, thanks for joining me, even in an abbreviated form. Have a good day. We'll see you again next time.
You too. All right, brother.
All right. Great stuff, Jimmy. Take care. All right, there you go, Jimmy Murphy. Look at that. He's having some time with his little girl today. I believe that's the case. So, and still made some time to join us here on the show. Alex B. Smith, good stuff. He's in the chat. Obviously feeling under the weather today, but he's going to see you guys in the chat and hopefully give you some stats, trends, opinions of his own. Again, we'll recap everybody's plays. Andrew sent me his plays. Alex sent me his plays. We'll recap all of those. And, of course, I'll reiterate what Jimmy's on as well at the end of the show when we recap the card, which we do at the end of every episode of the Ice Guys. Next up, Carolina, Chicago. We've got Carolina minus 115 to minus 120. Road favorites, total 6.5 in this game. How about the red-hot Blackhawks? Wow. Where did this come from? From Chicago, a team that was just struggling with consistency, struggling to really find their footing, find their best play for the majority of the season to this point. But boy, they're starting to put it together now, aren't they? Blackhawks. They go into Nashville, Music City, and they absolutely romp and roll over the Nashville Predators on Saturday night in blowout fashion. Back-to-back situation the very next night hosting the Buffalo Sabres, and they get the job done there. 4-1 victory for the Blackhawks, who've now won 4 in a row, 5-1 in their last 6 games, and doing a pretty good job. They beat a good Vancouver team as well. Beat Toronto, beat Vegas, beat Nashville. Some decent wins. These aren't sisters of the poor. That Chicago's beating. There's some quality competition in there. So you give them credit for that. They're playing much better overall. They're getting some saves. Yeah, Corey Crawford, we got to give him credit, and we sort of alluded to that, and certainly our resident Blackhawk fan, Alex B. Smith, alluded to it, that Corey Crawford has played a little bit better in recent outings, and that's certainly been the case. We know Robin Lehner, for the most part, this season has been solid in net for the Chicago Blackhawks as well. And again, this team's just got to play some decent defense, get some saves, because we know they've got the ability to score goals. They've got the forward group that should be able to do some damage offensively. And certainly we've seen evidence of that in recent games. They're playing complete hockey right now. We were waiting for it. The defense could play a little better. They could get some decent goaltending. They could get some offense, and they're getting that right now. And they're getting a huge boost from the likes of Kirby Dach for the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, this guy has been absolutely a spark plug, a guy that's absolutely just given this team a shot of energy and confidence. And it's no surprise that as he started heating up offensively, remember, this is a guy that's drafted 3rd overall by the Blackhawks last year, and yet he's producing at a better clip than some of those other guys that were drafted right around him in that draft last year. He's been absolutely fantastic. 9 points in 14 games for this Blackhawks team. 4 goals and 2 assists in Chicago's last 4 games. It's been absolutely tremendous for this team. And wait till he gets more ice time. I mean, he hasn't even gotten as much ice time, and he's still been able to produce. Wait till Jeremy Colton, says, "You're playing good, man. We're going to elevate the number of minutes you get." That's really going to be a big boost for this Blackhawks team. But yeah, there's no doubt. The team is starting to find some offense again, which is very good to see. He's Patrick Kane. We know Blackhawks go as Patrick Kane goes. 8 goals, 9 assists during a current point streak, leading the team 26 points. And if Jonathan Taves gets going and starts scoring goals, and he's got 2 goals, 3 assists in Chicago's last 4 games, look out then, because when Captain Sirius starts going offensively, that could be a big-time positive news for the Chicago Blackhawks moving forward. Carolina Hurricanes on the other end coming into this game, they've started to get back going again. The Carolina Hurricanes, nice 4-3 overtime win against the Minnesota Wild the other night. They've won 3 straight as well. So you've got surging teams on both sides. Chicago 5-1 the last 6. Carolina's won 3 in a row. This should be a pretty good hockey game. This is actually one of the games I'm more intrigued to watch here going into this game, going into tonight. I would lean a little to. In fact, I'm going to take Chicago here. I respect Carolina. They're playing better too. 3 wins in a row. After going through a little bit of a slump. But Chicago at a home underdog price, I don't know if that's warranted right now. They're playing good. They've beaten some decent teams along the way, including Vancouver, Buffalo. Even though Buffalo struggled a bit, it's still a team with a winning record. There's been some decent wins. I know Toronto's obviously been a disappointment, but they beat them, a team that was expected to do a whole lot coming into the season. I think it's a little disrespectful considering they've won 4 in a row and 5 of 6 to make Chicago a little bit of a home underdog here in this game. So again, things are clicking for this team offensively, defensively. They're getting goaltending from both goalies, not just Leonard anymore. Crawford has been good when he's been in net recently too. So I like Chicago there plus 105 at Pinnacle. Total wise, tough to call because there's been some. There's some trends out there that really strongly point to the over in this game, but Chicago's really playing good defensively. Chicago's playing good enough offensively where this still could get over the total, and I'd lean over the total, but I'm just going to go with Chicago here at the underdog side at home, getting plus 105. Next up, we've got Vancouver, Dallas. Dallas minus 145 to minus 150 home favorites. Total 5.5, shaded to the under in this one. I think I've been on Dallas in some form each of their last 3 or 4 games. I think maybe one game I didn't bet them. It was the Vancouver game. It was when they played Vancouver last week and they were on the second night of back-to-back on the road. Beat the and Dallas finally against Edmonton on Saturday afternoon to get the victory to end that road trip. And I know it's the first home game for Dallas after a road trip that can be a little bit problematic, but seems like they've gotten a little bit of a wake-up call. Vancouver obviously losing to Colorado the other night at home to the Avalanche in that one. Vancouver still going back and forth. They're sort of in one of those weird states where they're alternating wins and losses. Their goal scoring has cooled off just a little bit in recent games for this Vancouver Canucks team. I even though it's not usually the spot I always go to back teams in, I would actually take a chance here with Dallas in regulation at minus 105. I like the momentum they've got. They're really playing some of their better hockey of the season. And the fact that they rallied from a deficit, to beat Edmonton, that tells you there's confidence that's reignited within this team again. So I'm looking at Dallas here in regulation, minus 105 to get the job done here against Vancouver. Next up, we've got Colorado, Calgary. Calgary minus 130. Home favorites, minus 125 to minus 130 is home chalk. In that range, the total 6 shaded to the over in this one. Look, I can't lay a price with Calgary as a favorite. And Matthew Tkachuk sort of called his team out after a despicable performance against Vegas, 6-0 shutout loss against the Golden Knights on Sunday night. And let's not forget, Vegas was struggling every bit as much as Calgary going into that game. And yet Vegas still, with all the struggles they were going through. Remember, Vegas lost to Los Angeles, the Kings, the day before. Things weren't going well for them either. And they still did an absolute tap dance, to steal a Pierre Maguire term. They did a tap dance all over the Calgary Flames on Sunday night in that 6-0 victory. So definitely a situation where that's a red flag to me. I mean, you're playing against a team that's struggling every bit as much in recent games as you, and that's the performance you put out there. That's a problem. They've now been shut out in back-to-back games. Calgary shut out in both games over the weekend on the road in Arizona on Saturday and in Vegas on Sunday. The offense has dried up. We've talked about this on previous shows and referring to this Flames team. Where's Monahan? Where's Gaudreau? Where's Tkachuk? Where's Backlund? Where's some of these big offensive forces here for the Calgary Flames? You can't find them with the telescope right now on the ice, to steal an Ian Cameron term. See, that's my term. Can't find him with a telescope on the ice right now. That's the case with Calgary. And, you know, it's kind of a shame to David Riddick, because he's actually played pretty solid in net for the majority of this season for the Flames. But when you're not getting run support, you're not getting goal scoring to help you out from your hockey team, it's going to be tough to win games. And this Calgary team has totally lost confidence offensively. Think about this. They had one of the better power plays in the NHL for the majority of the regular season last year. That was a really good Calgary power play. They can't buy one on the power play right now. They are absolutely in shambles. There's no crispness. It's a chore for Calgary just to enter the offensive zone when they have the power play. That's a big problem. The passes aren't clicking. You know, there's not really much chemistry going on with the lines right now. Bill Peters is shaking up the lines, it seems, every single game, trying to find something that works. He's really just spitballing right now, Bill Peters. He's just trying to throw something at the wall, see what sticks when it comes to him putting the lines in a blender after every game. But he's got to do something. This offense is just absolutely stagnated as of late for the Calgary Flames. And, Colorado, let's give this team credit. I mean, we've talked about this before, how, after initial struggles playing with the injuries that they're dealing with, Rantanen and Landeskog, and now it's even worse, to be honest with you, because Jost is injured. Pierre-Edouard Belmar's day-to-day. Matt Calvert gets injured the last game, that infamous play where Colorado was furious. The play did not get blown dead. Calvert's laying on the ice bleeding, and Vancouver scores a power play goal as that whole situation is unfolding. Colorado was not happy about that. I can't blame them. I mean, I know the rule is the team with the injured player has to gain possession of the puck before they blow the play dead. I think that's a bunch of garbage. The guy's got bleeding out of his head. We can stop the game to make sure he's okay. Can we not? Can we not do that? Can we not make sure the guy's okay and just make sure, he's bleeding from the head, for Christ's sake? Can we not make sure he's doing okay? I don't like that rule. I don't like that rule where the team with the injured player, they have to possess the puck, have the puck on their stick before they blow the whistle and stop the play with an injury on the ice. That's a bunch of BS as far as I'm concerned. Stop the play. Guy's not in any condition to be out there on that ice at that time. Who knows how serious that could have been at the time. Whistle the play dead as soon as you see something like that. I don't care who has the puck at that point. But so I understand Colorado's anger and frustration with how that ended up. But it didn't end up hurting them, because Vancouver did actually tie that game 4-4, but Colorado prevailed in overtime with the victory against the Canucks on Saturday night. Look, I know they're injured beyond belief, and I think that's probably influencing where this line is to some degree. This is a banged-up Colorado team, yet they keep on pushing forward, keep on finding ways, no excuses. We're down a bunch of guys, but we're still going to compete. We're still going to come out there and be good. And this is, by the way, going to be the return of Philip Grubauer in net tonight for Colorado. Now, I did say on Saturday, in saying I like the over in the Vancouver game, that if Grubauer has that first start back, he could be rusty. He could not be sharp. He's been out for a while, and that concerns me here. And that's why I was looking long and hard at the over in this game. But I can't trust Calgary to score right now. I mean, their offense is just that dead as a doornail at this point in time. So I'm going to take Colorado. I know there's some concern with the injuries, and how sharp is Grubauer going to be in his first start in net for quite some time due to the injury absence. But you can't tell me Calgary can be trusted right now, minus 130. I just don't see. Maybe they do wake up and finally win after, what Matthew Tkachuk said. You could tell Calgary's getting frustrated too, because those games against Vegas and Arizona over the weekend, they got into some fisticuffs. They got into a lot of scrums after the whistle. That is a team that is frustrated. They're getting angry, and they're showing it with their actions on the ice in terms of their demeanor. That's not a healthy demeanor right now that the Calgary Flames have. So at plus 115 on Colorado, I'm going to get involved for sure. They're the flat-out better team. Okay, maybe this is a night for Calgary to step up, but I'm going to have to see it with my own two eyes before I can trust them in this situation. So for me, Colorado plus 110 as an underdog here against Calgary. Next game, we've got Toronto taking on Vegas, the woe-begotten Maple Leafs, who just seemingly can't get out of their own way right now. Vegas taking money, which is no surprise considering the way things have transpired for the Leafs, minus 145 to minus 155. The public seeing what we're all seeing, a Leaf team that's just absolutely crumbling right now. Total 6.5 in this game, shaded to the over. I'm expecting a lot of goals here tonight. I really am. I mean, Vegas got 6 goals, got out of their funk against Calgary. When you're going into Vegas, that cauldron, T-Mobile Arena, facing that team who have historically been a better offensive team at home than they've been on the road. They can score on the road too, Vegas, but they've always been able to light up the scoreboard at home. And you're going to go in there, if you're Toronto, with a sorry defense right now, with Pee Wee and Bantam hockey teams probably play better structure defensively than the Leafs right now. You're going to go in with that defense against that team and that building. That's an issue. I don't see Toronto defensively doing anything because they've talked now multiple games in a row. We got to work on the things defensively, and it's not working. That's the thing. It's not working. It's just a bunch of coach speak. It's a bunch of player speak that isn't producing action, that isn't producing results. And that's the constant problem with this Toronto Maple Leafs team. They keep talking about shoring up defensively. They keep talking about being better team in their own zone, and yet it's not showing with their performances on the ice. So maybe at some point, if you're Mike Babcock, especially now as the pressure ratchets up, maybe you just got to say, screw it. Maybe we're just going to have to outscore teams nightly to win games. And I get the sense they're getting to that point with this Leafs team. And to me, it wouldn't shock me to see Vegas score at least 4, if not 5 goals on this Toronto team. That's what they've been giving up recently. Yeah, I think on the flip side, you can probably count on the Leafs to find the back of the net as well in this game. You look at the previous meetings between these two teams in Vegas, I believe every single one has flown over the total. So I'm on the over here in this game. I'm staying off the side. I could only look at the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they'll be feeling much better about themselves after shutting out and putting the boots to Calgary Sunday night. They needed that win desperately. They got it. So I think the confidence will be flowing again for this Golden Knights team. Vegas team total over, probably something that isn't the worst thought in the world as well in terms of a potential play in this one. But for me, just the over in this one, over 6.5, minus 115 to minus 120, the current price with that. I think getting this game to 7 goals or more total is not asking too much. Let's get some comments in the chat, since I see the chat board is definitely lighting up here. We've got C. Bills saying, could see a tight, low-scoring game in Calgary tonight. Yeah, we could. Yeah, like I say, Calgary to me, it's not a team that's a team I trust in terms of going over the total right now. Even though Grubauer, you're not sure what he's going to deliver in his first start after being out a while. But yeah, they called up AJ Greer, I should say, the Avalanche, and that's a guy that's gotten into some fisticuffs down in the AHL with the farm team. So. You're right, and called up Ronaldo as well. You're right about that. So we could be looking at a situation here where, again, Calgary's been ornery of late. Flames, by the way, are the ones that called up Ronaldo. Yeah, you could see a little bit of a physical game tonight, definitely. Calgary just looks like, we're fed up. We're not playing well. We're fed up. We're not taking it anymore. So if we can't beat you on the scoreboard, we'll beat your face in instead. That seems to be the mantra that they took in those 2 games over the weekend against Arizona and Vegas. So that could be your scrappy game of the night in the NHL tonight when you look at that Colorado-Calgary game. But anyway, Toronto-Vegas over for me in that game. That's where we left off. Last game on the card, Edmonton-San Jose. We've got San Jose minus 140, home favorites, total 6.5, shaded to the over in this game. Look, I'm not sold on San Jose. I'm still not. I know they're 10-11 on the season. They've played better hockey of late. They have. They're on a roll right now, San Jose. But I'm going to reiterate this one more time for you. Listen up now. I know they've won 6 in a row, the Sharks. Pretty good. But they beat Chicago when Chicago was struggling. They beat Minnesota, and Minnesota's been hit or miss. They beat Nashville when Nashville has hit the skids. That one quality win was Edmonton, the same Oilers team that they're going to play again tonight, 6-3. That was their nice win. They beat Anaheim 5-3 when Anaheim's been scuffling. They got Anaheim at the right time. They beat Detroit 4-3 at the end of a long West road trip for Detroit. So they've basically gotten teams in good spots, teams in bad spots. They've gotten those teams in bad spots, and San Jose's been in good spots for these recent games that they've won for the most part, other than the Edmonton game. So, okay, it's nice. 6 wins in a row. Bravo. Fantastic. Show me you can do it tonight, because I think Edmonton is going to remember losing 6-3 to the Sharks. They fell behind 3-0 early in that game. It was probably one of the worst games the Oilers have played in quite some time. They're coming off a frustrating 5-4 overtime loss at home to the Dallas Stars, where they had that game, looks like won. Dallas tied it late and then ended up winning in overtime. So to me, this is a good bounce back spot for Edmonton off that type of frustrating loss. Trying to avenge a loss just 1 week ago here in the Shark Tank against San Jose. I think it's going to be a much taller order here for this San Jose team. I like the spot for Edmonton. I like the value we're getting here with this Edmonton team in this game tonight. Plus 125 in some spots still with the Oilers. That's what I'm going to go with here. Actually, plus 123 is the best price out there right now with Edmonton as an underdog. I like the situation, the way it goes for them here tonight. I think they have a good chance to come out of the Shark Tank and snap this 6-game win streak that, again, San Jose's caught every opponent pretty much in a favorable spot. That can't go on forever. And I think you'll see Edmonton play a much better game tonight and get the job done. I'm also on the over in this game. You look at Edmonton, I don't want to say they've lost their way defensively, but they've gone over the total now in 4 straight games. They've scored 3 goals or more in each of those games. So the offense has been fine. I mean, Connor McDavid's ridiculous right now. What he's doing for the Edmonton Oilers right now is absolutely scintillating. It's magical. He's obviously deserving of being the number 1 star of the week in the NHL, courtesy of NHL.com. I mean, what can you say? 6 points against Colorado. I believe 10 points in his last 3 games. He has 13 points in 11 road games for this Edmonton Oilers team. So he hasn't minded one bit playing away from Rogers Place in Edmonton. He's played really well on the road. This guy has just been remarkable, been absolutely terrific. And it's funny because he's got 40 points this season, Connor McDavid. And he's second in the league, and his teammate Leon Draisaitl, believe it or not, has more. I mean, this duo, Draisaitl and McDavid, you better say some prayers and hope neither of these guys ends up with a significant or serious injury as this season goes along for the Edmonton Oilers, because, man, they have just been that good. They have been that phenomenal for this Edmonton Oilers team. And I think they're going to give the Oilers a chance here to come out of San Jose with a win. So I like Edmonton plus 123, best price currently on the Oilers, and as well over 6.5 here at minus 125 in this one. Oilers and Sharks to wrap up the night, going with Edmonton as well as over the top. By the way, in terms of the over, and I cashed the over last week in that 6-3 game for San Jose. The reason I like these Edmonton-San Jose overs is because we talked about how Rangers and Panthers on Saturday, where they had gone over the total 9 straight head-to-head meetings, now 10 straight head-to-head meetings after that game on Saturday. Well, you look at the over series history with Edmonton-San Jose, 9-1 to the over their last 10 head-to-head meetings. It's been just one high-scoring game after another between the Oilers and the Sharks, and I think we'll probably see more of the same here tonight. So I'm on Edmonton there, plus 123, and Edmonton-San Jose over 6.5. minus 125. All right, that's going to wrap up the breakdown of our Tuesday card. We're going to recap everybody's selections for this Tuesday NHL slate. We're going to start with Jimmy Murphy. We'll reiterate what he's got on this card. He has Buffalo minus 105, Philadelphia, Florida over 1.5 minus 160, Columbus plus 100, Montreal, Columbus under 6 minus 115. New York Islanders plus 110, Detroit, Ottawa over 6 minus 115, Winnipeg plus 160, Winnipeg, Nashville over 6.5 minus 105, Tampa Bay minus 115, over 1.5, Carolina, Chicago first period. That is, let me see here, Carolina, Chicago over 1.5 first period is minus 150 on that one. He's on Vancouver money line plus 130, Colorado plus 115, Colorado, Calgary under 6 minus 105. Toronto, Vegas over 1.5, minus 175 first period. The price is too high. I do want to mention something. I endorse that first period over Toronto, Vegas. Vegas is what, 9-2 to the over in 11 home games in the first period. Price was just a little too high for me with it, minus 175. But I definitely think over first period. Golden Knights again, 9-2 first period overs at home this year for Vegas. No sense not trying to ride that. Again, minus 175 is a little bit higher than my price threshold on that, but I have no arguments with looking at the Leafs and Golden Knights over in the first period. And Jimmy also is on Edmonton as well as along with me at plus 123 Edmonton against San Jose. Nebraska saying Vegas first 15 minutes over at 1 and 1.5 plus 130. No argument. I think Vegas comes out flying. They can put a goal or two at least probably in the first period behind this sieve defense of the Leafs. And you can always count on the Leafs. They still got firepower to contribute offensively as well. So I see nothing wrong with that. Nebraska knows if you like that Vegas first 15 minutes total that's being offered. First goal in the first 10 minutes, Jason. I'm guessing you're talking about the Vegas game as well. Yes, definitely no argument there. I wouldn't talk you out of it. I may not bet it, but I definitely wouldn't talk you out of making that bet if you like it. That's for sure. All right, let's do Andrew first. Andrew's only has 2 plays. Andrew's on Tampa Bay, minus 120, and he's on the New York Islanders, plus 110 against Pittsburgh. So Tampa and the Islanders, 2 plays for Andrew McGinnis. And for Alex B. Smith, who, even though he's ailing today, he's in the chat, came in and said hello. He's got Buffalo, minus 105 against Minnesota. Montreal, minus 120 against Columbus. New York Islanders, plus 115 against Pittsburgh. Boston, New Jersey, over 1.5, minus 130 first period. Ottawa, Detroit, under 6.5, minus 120. Tampa Bay, minus 115. Carolina, Chicago, over 1.5, minus 140 first period. Chicago, plus 110. Colorado, Calgary, over 1.5, minus 140 first period. Toronto, Vegas, over 2, plus 115 in the first period. Those are Alex B. Smith's plays for this Tuesday card. No best bet for Alex. No best bet for Andrew or Jimmy either. No best bet for me either. So we're going 1 unit of everyone here on the Ice Guys. Alex, Andrew, Jimmy, and me, all 1 unit plays. And my card as follows is Buffalo, minus 105. Minnesota, Buffalo, over 5.5, minus 115. Yes, I am on an official play under. So if it wins, or if it goes over the total, you know why. Montreal, Columbus, under 6, minus 115. New York Islanders, plus 110. Detroit, minus 120. Colorado, plus 115. Oh, I forgot. Winnipeg. I'm going to add Winnipeg, Nashville, over 6.5, minus 105. Chicago, plus 110. Dallas in regulation, minus 105. I just mentioned Colorado, plus 110. Toronto, Vegas, over 6.5, minus 120. Edmonton, plus 123. And Edmonton, San Jose, over 6.5, minus 125. That's my card, and that's a wrap for the Tuesday edition of the Patreon NHL Ice Guys. My voice has held up for this hour, so I'm grateful for that. I don't know how, but it did. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and supporting us. We're up to 85 patrons, guys. We really are trying to get to 100. We're trying. We think we can get to 100. We know we can get to 100 because nobody's giving you NHL hockey content every single day like we are. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your relatives, tell any hockey fan or better you know that the Patreon NHL Ice Guys, for a nominal fee of $10 per month, are giving you the best daily NHL betting coverage available anywhere on the internet. Make sure you check us out, www.patreon.com/iceguys. 85. The drive to 100 is on. We're getting there, baby. 100 Patreons will get there. We're closing in on that 100 mark, that century mark, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys joining us, subscribing, and being part of what we're doing every single day. So thank you very much to everyone in the chat. We really do appreciate it. Again, sometimes shit happens, right? Andrew and Jimmy have responsibilities. Alex under the weather. We were thinking we'd have the whole crew today, but we're going to be back. We'll get everyone back together, certainly, if not tomorrow, later in the week, Thursday or Friday. We will be back with a live show tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be a very short show. We've only got 2 games on Wednesday. It's one of those schizophrenic NHL weeks where you got 2 games on Monday, 13 today, 2 games on Wednesday, and then back to 13 games, I think, on Thursday. So it's one of those crazy weeks. It's like Tourette's for NHL scheduling. Up and down, up and down. The mood swings are crazy. So nevertheless, we've got 2 games tomorrow. We'll break those down for you right here, 3 p.m. Eastern time. For Ian, I'm Ian Cameron. For the entire crew, I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy your Tuesday. Good luck on the ice tonight. Enjoy your Tuesday night. Good luck with all of your wagers. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on the Patreon NHL Ice Guys.